You know, I'm 1,500 years old.
Hey guys, welcome back to The Binger. Have you ever wondered just how old some characters really are in the MCU?
Yes.
You're about to find out. We're not saying that old age matters or anything, but when you're dealing with some of the biggest, baddest beings in the entire universe, it kinda does. As viewers, we don't really ask the likes of Thanos to whip out his ID before he slips on the Infinity Gauntlet. If we did, we just might find that he is old enough to do whatever the heck he likes and largely get away with it. Let's take a look at some of the sprightly old things ruling Marvel's cinematic universe, past and present. The Ancient One. It's all in the name with this one, isn't it? The Ancient One is a big deal in Doctor Strange. The former Sorcerer Supreme dedicated herself to protecting others using her magic and wonderful abilities. As you might expect, she wasn't born yesterday. Marvel President Kevin Feige summed up the casting of Tilda Swinton in a nutshell, saying, "As we were developing this film, we looked at the Ancient One as a mantle more than a specific person. The sorcerers have been around for millennia, protecting us from things that we didn't know about until this story. There have been multiple Ancient Ones. Even if this one has been around for 500 years, there were others. This is a mantle, and therefore we felt we had leeway to cast in interesting ways. So Tilda's character comes in at 500 years old, just like in the comic books. You might think that sounds like a really long time to be alive, and it is, but as it turns out, the Ancient One isn't all that ancient in the grand scheme of things. At least, not when you compare her to other characters in the MCU that are a little longer in the tooth. Sure, she's been around longer than any of us are likely to see, but she's still practically still in her diapers. Perhaps the secret to a long, healthy life is just getting plenty of beauty sleep in a glass box at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. Hey, it works for Tilda, so it could be worth a try. Have you seen her dewy skin and youthful glow? Sign us up!
Thank you, Ancient One, for seeing me.
You're very welcome.
Thanos. Thanos. He's the big purple brute that we just love to hate, isn't he? It's no secret that Thanos has been a pain in the butt for a really long time in the comic books.
The only matter I do not take seriously, boy, is you.
The Mad Titan has been outstaying his welcome for hundreds of years, butting his big purple chin where he's not wanted. He's courted love with dastardly beings. He's been the scourge of worlds. But we're here to talk about the Thanos we know and despise from the MCU. According to directors the Russo brothers, Thanos has been flying around the cinematic universe for just over 1,000 years. That's still plenty of time for him to build a reputation for himself and be known to everyone as a really credible threat. Thanos' age might seem like it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. After all, we've seen characters that are way younger but just as malevolent, but if you really think about it, age is a huge part of Thanos' character. Sure, he's absolutely evil, but he comes across as wise and calculated. He is a father to Gamora and Nebula, albeit not a very good one, but he has the air of superiority that only comes with being around for a seriously long time. Joe Russo dubbed him the Genghis Khan of the universe, which isn't a title to be taken lightly. When you've lived for 1,000 years, you get to pick up some serious fighting skills too. A part of Thanos' strength comes from simply having been there, seen it, smashed it to pieces before, and got the t-shirt. As we've all seen, he knows a lot of tricks of the trade. Loki Thor. Okay, let's just see a show of hands here. Who doesn't love Loki? If you raised your hand, it's time you took a serious look at yourself and your core values. Tom Hiddleston brings the God of Mischief to life surprisingly well, and Loki arguably has one of the most interesting character arcs in the entire MCU. You're never quite sure what side Loki is on, which is what makes him so dang intriguing. So where does the raven-haired son of Asgard come in on the age scale? As it turns out, he's older than he looks. Asgardians as a race have been around for a long time, which makes Loki somewhere in the region of 1,500 years old, even though he's not technically Asgardian. Thor. It just wouldn't be right to mention Loki without mentioning Asgard's golden boy Thor. In Avengers 3, Thor let it slip that he's been around for over 1,500 years. We know that he is older than Loki, so while we don't know exactly how many candles are going to be on his next cake, we do have a ballpark figure. It just goes to show that no matter how ancient these gods are, they're still bickering brothers at heart.
All right, I yield.
Valkyrie, Thor Ragnarok. Valkyrie may have really only burst onto the MCU for real in Thor Ragnarok, but she's an OG. Val predates Thor and Loki, as she was at Odin's side when it was time to fight Hela the first time around. As she was a fierce warrior then, and that was 2,000 years ago, it's safe to say that the anti-aging eye cream is working for her. Valkyrie looks as fresh as she did when she was in her early hundreds, right?
You're a Valkyrie.
Hela, Thor Ragnarok. Where did Hela learn to dress like that? Who knows, but she had over 2,000 years to perfect her style as one of the older characters in the MCU. It goes without saying that Hela has been around longer than that pair of lucky pants you've had since high school. Yeah, filthy animals. This was a daughter that was effectively so badly behaved that her dad threw her in the slammer for millennia. We've all heard "go to your room" at some stage in our lives, but this took it to the max. Hela's age is also an important part of her story and how her character reacts to the world around her. She's understandably miffed that her pa, who she was once close to, sent her into exile. Hela spent way more time away from Asgard than she ever did in it, which explains, at least to an extent, why she is the way she is. Still, she got taken down a peg or two in the end, didn't she? Just a shame that she took the whole of Asgard with her.
Surtur destroys Asgard, he destroys Hela so that our people may live.
Odin Thor. Let's say that he had Hela when he was a respectable 2,000 years old and imprisoned her 500 years later. Then he had Thor, so judging by all of that and leaving a little room, he's around 4,000 years old. His advanced age puts him near to the top of our ranking, which is exactly where he is in our hearts. We love you, Odin, even though you're gone. The Collector. The Collector also wanted to get his hands on the Infinity Stones and even managed to get one. However, this made him one of Thanos' targets and he was soon up in flames. It's kinda sad seeing how this dude is unmeasurably old. How old, you say? Seriously, we just told you, he's unmeasurably old. According to everything we know about the character, he's almost as old as the universe itself. So he's been around long enough to see the arrival of brutes like Thanos. Given all the threats he must have faced over the course of his life, it's a little ironic that he was finally bested and beaten by someone that is a kindergartner in comparison. The Grandmaster. The strange and bizarre ruler is the brother of the Collector, which puts him not at hundreds, but millions of years old, just like his sibling. Of course, it's only understandable that when one gets to this ripe old age that you start losing your marbles. Simple questions might get very strange, confused answers. The Grandmaster has had a long time to develop characteristics that make him seem almost feline. Is it just us, or is he constantly looking like the cat that got the cream? Let's face it, Jeff Goldblum is the best person to play this part, as he's mad as a box of frogs anyway, but in the best way.
Jeff Goldblum wafers, the only cracker that talks when you put it in your mouth.
When it comes to his personality, the Grandmaster has made it his life's work to play with lesser life forms. Perhaps he just gets really bored after being around for so long. He's probably read all the books, played all the games, toyed with all the technology. Siblings are often chalk and cheese, so while the Collector liked to, well, you know, the Grandmaster likes his entertainment alive and kicking. Preferably kicking each other to a pulp for his amusement.
Here we go. Here we go.
Ego. Ego had been around for longer than anyone or anything as a Celestial that can manipulate matter and even use a human body. It's just a shame that after all that living, he met his end at the hands of his own son. They do say pride comes before a fall, though. Quill used his father's beatdown against his frenemy Thor when they were trying to one-up each other over whose sacrifice was greater. Was Thor besting his sister Hela more of a burn, or was Quill dusting his own father even worse? It's a strange conversation to have when most of us just talk about who's got a bigger Pokemon card collection. Again, it would seem that a long life is only usually blessed to villains, or perhaps it creates them.
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
There you have it, folks. Did that surprise you? Who did you think would still be getting carded for booze? Did Odin's age shock you? Let us know what you think by dropping us a line in the comments section below. Until next time, you little ankle biters, thanks for watching.